Ready? Excuse me. Y'all ready? City Manager, are we waiting for Wilder to return?
Yes, sir. She's on her way back down. She just
on her
set
way?
that up. Right.
Okay. Please bear with us for one moment as we set up some of our communications, and we'll get started. Our city clerk is going to be right back, and we need her to confirm the quorum and some other things, and she's on her way. I would like, even before we got started, if you would, to take a moment of silence. One of our council members, Roxy Andabamadu, lost her father the other day. And so if you could, from my faith in who I am, keep her and her family in your prayers. And if you would, just allow us a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. Madam City Clerk, are we ready to go?
Okay, Mayor, we're good.
Good? Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call to order the regular City Council meeting of Monday, July 1st, 2024 in Council Chambers. It is now 8:09 p.m. Would everyone please stand who are able to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam City Clerk, can you confirm at this time we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a quorum for this evening. In Council Chambers, we have Councilmember Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem Wolfley, Mayor Adams, Councilmember Brady, and Councilmember Truesdale. And via Teams virtually, we have Councilmember Estev.
And I'd like to again say for the record, Councilmember Andamamadu lost her father, and that's why she is not with us this evening. At this time, I will address the agenda additions, deletions, and amendments. I'd like to move that we take item A, the Fire Station 39 discussion, and move it up to right behind the city boards and committees, appointments and reappointment. Could I get a second on that?
A second.
It's been moved and probably second. Any discussion? Hearing none, motion carries. At this time, are there any other additions, deletions? Hearing none, we'll move on to citizen participation. Madam City Clerk, do we have any? Thank you, ma'am. We have Frank Elson.
That is I. For better or for worse. What am I supposed to do?
Oh, just come up to the microphone and
Alright.
share with us what you wanted to
This one here?
speak. Yeah, that one, and you can adjust it to whatever level you're comfortable with.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
You get the idea? I don't have any idea what I'm doing? Okay. I got a problem. I'm hoping you can do something to help me. I'm not overly optimistic. How's that for a positive approach? Huh? I have 5 semi-detached, not semi, detached family rental units, houses in Bowie, okay? I had them forever. Well, for 46 years, some of them, less than that. I don't have any issues with tenants. My tenants, they're there forever and a half, okay. One of my houses, the house next to it, which is not mine, has bamboo growing sort of voraciously across the back, and it's invaded my property. And there doesn't seem to be, from my perspective, any real nice resolution to this that's not going to cost huge amounts of money. I don't know if there's any laws, if there's any thing the city does. I hear all kinds of partial rumors from partial experts who don't seem to know much more than I do, but they talk a lot better about, these roots can invade sewer lines and water lines and all sorts of things like that. I don't know if that's true or not true. If it is, I'm thinking the city might have an interest, since most of those things, I think, are somehow city property or whatever. But basically, that's my problem, is I have, bamboo, once it begins to grow, the roots just go and go and go and go and go and go. It's not the biggest thing on your list of priorities, I'm sure, but it is kind of big on my list of priorities. So I did call, I called the code enforcement people. I think I can say that I have a pretty good relationship with them. We never had any problems over 46 years. So to see if they could help, and they said no, they couldn't because bamboo, even though it was invasive, was not deleterious to people's health or something. It didn't cause you to get sick or whatever. They referred me to the arborist, if that's the right term for it, and she was very pleasant, but sort of said she didn't know anything, and she referred me to someone else. I'm sorry, I don't know who it was. And he didn't have too much to offer. Nobody was looking at it from a legal point of view or from a responsibility beyond, I'm fishing for if there's any potential involvement on the part of the city that would help me because, okay, another dimension to all this is we all know landlords are nasty, mean, exploitive people, right? That comes with the territory, right? A different subject, but like last year when I got a reassessment, one of my properties went up $85,000 in value. I went to the county council, because they had some meetings about how landlords are terrible people. And I said, well, okay, the assessment is going to mean the increase, just the increase in my real estate tax will be $120 a month. Are you council members prepared to send a letter to my tenants telling them that if I raise rents $120 a month, I get nothing for it? Okay, that's a different subject, but it's kind of related because this is going to cost a few $1,000s to resolve. And I'm not even sure, most of the people say we're not even sure how permanent the resolution will be. There is a plan, if you're familiar, maybe more so than I am, maybe less. But you have to dig the roots all out, down to like 2 feet or so. And then you can get some kind of a plastic material that you can put in there, and that should prevent the roots from coming back into that area. But because it's bamboo and the roots spread out voraciously, they just move down this fence here and start coming in this way. You with me? So you did this. And now there's like no end to this. The only end I know is to get a panda, but I don't think Bowie's planning to get a panda. Anyhow, that's my problem. I said I'm not overly optimistic, but I said, well, before I get all involved in spending big sums of money to resolve an issue, and God forbid you raise rent $10. Oh my God, the county council and everybody else will go ape over that, you know. Anyhow, that's all. That's my story. If you can do something to help me, if there's some legal implications to this, that the person who has the bamboo has a responsibility or anything else, I'd sure like to learn it. And I'm trying to prevent spending $500 an hour to talk to a private attorney. I figured first I'd try to talk to you because I don't mean it the wrong way, but it's kind of already pay your salaries, so, you know. End of story.
Well, thank you very much.
And that's the end
Our
of it.
staff have heard you.
I'm sorry?
I say we've all heard you. Thank you.
Yes. And so what should I do next?
The way this works is when you come up,
Right?
you get an opportunity to say, we don't do a back and forth.
No, I understand
answers
that.
and all
But
of that.
do I expect
And
to
my
hear back
point-
from you or what?
Well, that's why I said, I know our staff has heard you.
All right.
That's the implication of what'll happen.
Have a good life.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Dell Billings. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. My name is Delmer, but I go by Dale Billings, and I live on Maybank Lane, which is off of Millstream Drive. And today, I'm actually speaking as a private citizen rather than the chair of the Public Safety Committee. So my comments are my comments, not necessarily reflective of the Public Safety Committee, just to make that point clear. Today, I'd just like to discuss a little bit the removal of paid firefighters, EMS, from Station 39 at Free State Mall, or otherwise called the Bel Air Station in some cases. Obviously, as a citizen, I'm very disappointed that County Fire Chief Green, who is supported by County Executive Alsobrooks, has decided to remove paid firefighters, not just from Company 39, but from the other 3 stations in Prince George's County. The chief has stated that calls normally performed by the staff at Company 39 will be covered by the other Bowie stations. This is true in normal conditions, normal census, I agree. However, by permanently removing, that means there's no fire engine, no fire apparatus operable, and no engine, fire apparatus, or ambulance that's going to respond from Station 39 during the daylight hours at all. Now, as I said earlier, it's not uncommon that other stations backfill, make calls, respond to calls within the jurisdictions, not just within the Bowie city limits, but within other Prince George County communities, be it Greenbelt and what have you. Well, I took a look at, and the council members have copies of some of the data that I presented today. A number of the calls today alone were responded to by other stations outside of the Bowie proper, the Bowie city limits, so to speak, including transports from Glendale, transports from Upper Marlboro, transports from Station 30, which is Landover Hills. And the furthest one is from National Harbor. You know where that is, don't you, South County? Now, obviously, I'm aware that dispatch is made via GPS location. The closest available unit to the call gets dispatched. So there could be a valid reason why National Harbor was the closest unit. They may have been dropping off a patient at Bowie Health Center, for example. But nonetheless, just those amounts that are transported outside from units outside of Bowie is interesting. A couple of the calls, such as at Racetrack Road, Stony Brook Drive, Corvell Lane, are generally handled by Station 39. Those calls were handled by other units. Station 39 is located near 3 shopping centers. Of course, Free State Mall, which is right there in its back door, Marketplace right across the street, Hilltop up the hill, a minute away. By 39 not having a response unit available, other companies need to fill in if there are calls within those areas. I just did a quick look at driving times, just using Google Maps average time of driving from each of the 4 stations here in Bowie to streets and addresses within the area that 39 usually responds to. 39 can usually respond there. These are average driving times that a person, non-emergency, would drive. So there's that caveat. Can get there in under 4 minutes. Other stations can take as long as 7 to 13 minutes to get to those 4 locations that are within that one geographic area. Now, obviously, there again, that depends on the location of the apparatus, whether it's in station or located somewhere else, driving time or traffic locations, use of lights and sirens, which I wasn't speeding, I was going to speed limit. And I know the units don't speed either, but at least cars move out of the way with lights and sirens. Now, according to medical information, if somebody is experiencing cardiac arrest, no pulse, no breathing, brain death can start to occur between 4 and 6 minutes. Generally speaking, after 10 minutes, that person is non-recoverable. They won't recover. So if we have a response time of 8 to 10 to 13 minutes, I hate to tell you what that means.
Okay.
Now, the chief, who I know is here, thank you for being here, Chief Green, has said that volunteers can help fill in this gap. Well, most volunteers and others, such as even the members of the city council here before me, have daytime jobs. That means they cannot staff the station during the daylight hours from 7 to 3 o'clock or in that general time zone or timeline. It's not the old Bowie of old where people worked in the city and the employers in the city allowed their employees that were volunteers to go to the station and respond either to medical calls or fire calls. That's not today's world. You have to be in the station according to county protocol in order to respond to a call, whether it's paid staffing or volunteer staffing. So daylight fill-ins are very, very difficult at best, if not impossible.
Okay.
Now, I have to be a little critical of you all, Mr. Mayor and Council, in that we only learned of the removal of firefighters from Station 39 and the other 3 stations in the county because of press releases from other communities, including Greenbelt. We haven't heard anything from the city council yet. I'm glad to see discussion is beginning tonight on the agenda. Unfortunately, the crews are already gone out of 39. The last day, for all practical purposes, was last Friday.
Okay, we're going to have to.
Now, I stand here again as a member, or as a person, not as a public safety committee. But the Public Safety Committee continues to stand with you all, to be willing to work with you all. Thanks to Councilmember Brady, who is an active member and active participant in our meetings, and we appreciate it. One final comment, and this time I will put on my public safety chair hat on behalf of the Public Safety Committee. To the officers and staff of our excellent police department, congratulations to all of you who will be receiving awards tonight. Thank you. Job well done, well deserved. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or either now or later during a discussion of the fire service question later on. Thank you for your time and
Thank you.
attention.
Okay, we will now be moving on to presentations. So I will turn it over to Chief. Are you going to address it? Should I? Because it's an impressive thing. Because I'm impressed with this. So please go right ahead.
All right, good evening, Mayor and members of the council, Mr. Lott, our city manager, the citizens, and all of the members of the Bowie Police Department that are present this evening. I'm Dwayne Preston, the police chief, and I'm honored to be here this evening to honor 3 of our members who were involved in a very courageous act that went above and outside of the scope of their normal day-to-day duties. In detail, we had 3 City of Bowie police employees are receiving departmental awards regarding their actions, which led to the rescue of a 15-year-old and his dog from the pond near City Hall. This occurred on May 16, 2024, 5:03 p.m. A call was received in our dispatch center for a dog struggling to swim in Mill Branch Pond at Centennial Park. The park, which is located just behind City Hall, is adjacent to the police station, and it covers approximately 10 acres and is about 6 feet deep. Sergeant Matthew Titman, Lieutenant John Knott, and Communications Specialist 3, John Rivera, responded to the park from our police station. After checking the area for several minutes, Sergeant Titman advised he located the dog in the water at the north end of the pond. When Lieutenant Knott arrived, the dog could be seen in the area of the fountain toward the center of the pond. The dog's owner, a 15-year-old, and his father were located on the shore. And as Sergeant Titman was speaking to the youth's father, the youth walked around and entered the south end of the pond. The youth, unaware of the depth, the deep mud in the center of the pond, began to swim after the dog. Once he got to the dog, the youth began to have difficulty treading water and navigating the mud, and he began to panic. And he yelled, "Help, I'm in trouble." Without delay, Sergeant Titman began removing his gun belt and vest. He sprinted 40 yards to where the youth had entered the pond, removed his boots, and leapt into the 60-degree water. At this time, Communications Specialist Rivera arrived on scene and quickly entered the water and began swimming towards the youth. Also at this time, Lieutenant Knott stripped off his equipment and began to wade out into the pond. After a few tense moments, Sergeant Titman was able to reach the struggling youth. Drawing on his prior experience as a lifeguard, he was able to gain control of the struggling young man and began swimming back to the shore with the dog. Mr. Rivera and Lieutenant Knott also returned to the shore, where the fire department, EMS, thank you, Chief Green, arrived and checked the youth, who was uninjured and was reunited with his father. Mr. Rivera and Lieutenant Knott were also uninjured. Sergeant Titman did receive a little minor injury. We talked about that. You got to learn to stretch before he gets active. He pulled his hamstring. But their bravery and quick thinking, saved one of our neighborhood citizens from drowning. These employees exemplify the qualities of our Bowie Police Department employees. Their selfless acts of bravery not only saved a life, but also inspired all who witnessed the event. So I am honored to present these employees with the following departmental awards. And if I can have them come forth, Sergeant Matthew Titman is being honored with our Distinguished Service Award, and Lieutenant Knott and Communications Specialist 3 are being honored with our Life Saving Award. Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations. 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 Here you go.
So I want to bring up Sergeant Tipman, and he's being awarded a medal for this Distinguished Service Award along with a certificate. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hold on. And, Lieutenant John Otter present a life-saving award. Congratulations.
All right.
And finally, but not least, Communications Specialist John Rivera.
Yeah. Chief, if you and your awardees would mind waiting a moment, I'd love for the city council to come down and take a picture with you.
It's gonna be tough, sir. I'm gonna have to.
Can we all just slide that way?
Yeah, if not sure if everybody turns this way, I got a better shot. Yeah, face me.
You're going.
Yes, sir.
You in tight
Big smiles, everybody. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Big smile. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Do I look like I just was folding?
Sorry. Everybody right here, big smile.
I respond to my request for.
We're gonna get on there. I know. I hate to have to start bringing my own. M&M's down there, guys. That is like
No, we're good on this side. It's one you will probably never see. Hey, Chief, thank you again, and please let the entire department know how very proud we are of you and all of them as well. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda, we have moved up and we are now at city boards and committees. If the new city board persons will come forward and we will go with Ms. Alexis Jimamudu.
Bumudu, the G is silent.
Bumudu?
Correct.
Okay, was interviewed on June 17, 2024 for appointment to the Economic Development Committee. Council concurred to appoint her to the committee as a regular member for a 2-year term. Please, Councilmember Brady, move to appoint Ms. Bumudu.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none? Congratulations. What we will do at this time is we will now call up is Ms. Alexandra Landano Gomez here. Please come forward. Ms. Gomez was interviewed on June 17, 2024 for appointment to the Education Committee. Council concurred to appoint her to the committee as a regular member for a 2-year term. Please have Councilmember, I will do the honors since Councilmember Mbadubadu is not here, to appoint you. I'd like to move that Ms. Gomez be appointed.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. Now I'd like for you to both raise your right hands.
One more.
Okay.
Les Connors.
Oh, Mr. Les. Was previously a member of the Public Safety Committee from February 21st of 2023 to February 5th of 2024.
Good enough.
Is that good? Les? Good. Mr. Nuntz has reapplied to the committee. If council concurs to appoint Mr. Kuntz to the Public Safety Committee as a regular member for a 2-year term, please have Councilmember Brady, would you please move to have Mr. Nuntz?
Connors.
Connors.
Comments?
I move to appoint
Fine. This is fine.
Second.
to the Public Safety Committee.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bless, forgive me. Thank you. All right, if you would, I would like for you, we will have your swearing in at this time. If you would, please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Alexis Bumudu,
Do swear or affirm
swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
And I will be faithful
and I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland.
to the state of Maryland,
And support the Constitution
and support the Constitution
and laws thereof.
and laws thereof,
And that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of regular and state, the committee you're coming in,
execute the office of the Economic Development Committee
Safety Committee.
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of the state.
and laws of the state.
Congratulations. Please come forward. Please come forward. Please come forward. Please come forward.
Not official till paperwork.
Ms. Gomez, congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Ms. Bumudu? No. I probably don't need it. I should have taken that off. Thank you so very much.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Les, please come up.
Thank you.
How do you say his last name?
Connors.
Connors, all right?
Connors.
Mr. Les Connors? Here you go. Congratulations, Les. Thank you all.
You have to show.
Appreciate it, Les.
Thank you, Les. Sure.
See you at the next meeting. I would like to also state that there were committee reappointments. If council concurs to reappoint the following members of the Administrative Review Board for another 2-year term, I move that we reappoint Nancy Franklin, William Schmidt, and Carl J. Robinson.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same favor? Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following members of the Advisory Planning Board for another 2-year term, please have them, Councilmember Truesdale, if you would.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following members of the Arts Committee for another 2-year term, Councilmember Steve, would you move to appoint them?
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Gabriel Davison and Joseph Wright.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to the Community Outreach Committee for another 2-year term, will we please have a motion to reappoint them?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to reappoint Bonaventure Akinlasuto, Joseph Wright, and Mary Ellen Winland.
Second. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carried. If council concurs to reappoint the following member to the Community Recreation Committee for another 2-year term, Councilman Truesdale, will you make a motion for Ms. Carrie Weaver Bridges?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to reappoint Ms. Carrie Weaver Bridges.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carried. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to the Diversity Committee for another 2-year term, please, Councilmember Rogers, move to reappoint Vita Dixon, Jessica Fusil, Coon Faulkner, and Tiffany Scales.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to the Economic Development Committee for another 2-year term, Councilmember Brady, will you move to reappoint Adrian Bigelow Lewis, Billy D. Lewis, Michael Alluro, Christopher Rizzi, Veronica Fountain, Yolanda Muckle, and Eddie Pounds?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carried. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to the Education Committee for another 2-year term, please have Councilmember, I will make a move to reappoint Zachariah Lowe and Najee Kirby.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to an Environmental Advisory Committee for another 2-year term, please have the Mayor Pro Tem Wolfley, if you would, move to reappoint Alexandra S. Harry Napier, John R. Truesdale, and Karen Teschenberger.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following member to the Financial Advisory Committee for another 2-year term, Mayor Pro Tem, would you make the motion to reappoint William Olokoye?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carried. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to the Green Team Executive Committee for another 2-year term, please, if you would, Councilmember Rogers, move to reappoint Michael Balfe, Howard Dobson, Elena Wessler, Linda Cooper, Mason Gore-Duran, and Joshua Wooten.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following members to the Information Technology Committee for another 2 years, please move to reappoint Richard Belch, Kenneth Wenzel, and Joanne Marshall Hobbs.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. If council concurs to reappoint the following members of the Public Safety Committee for another 2-year term, please, if you would, Councilmember Brady, move to reappoint Delmer Billings, William Grayson, Ronald E. Gill Jr., and Jacqueline M. Roan.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you so very much to all of those who are taking on and being reappointed to these committees. At this time, based upon our agenda, we will now move from our city boards and committees into direct new business with the Fire Station 39 discussion. And at this time, I would like to offer an opportunity for the fire chief and staff to come up and make sure that it's explained what will be going on. And I think it'll give you an opportune time to share with the community where we are. For those who may not be aware, council did call an emergency meeting last week, and we did meet with the fire chief and her staff, as well as meeting with the chief of the volunteer fire department, Mr. Jonathan Howard. So if you would, Chief, thank you for joining us this evening, and please go right ahead so that our community can get an understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Mayor, council members. Good to see you again. With me today is Deputy Chief McClellan of Operations, Assistant Chief Mike White in charge of our Volunteer Services Office, and 2 of our on-duty chiefs that will also be here as well, speaking if necessary. Okay. I'm going to very briefly just give an opening. I'm going to turn it over to Chief McClellan to talk about the operations, which I think is what mostly our citizens want to hear about. So again, good evening, and thank you for having me here today. Let me first start out by saying that this temporary staffing reallocation plan is being put in place to ensure the health and wellness of our first responders. Your firefighters and paramedics do an outstanding job each day, responding to over 170,000 calls for service each year. We are a very busy department. As many of you are aware, the fire and EMS service is experiencing nationwide staffing challenges. This is not just Prince George's County. This is also affecting our neighboring jurisdictions. Last year alone, our firefighters and paramedics were required to work in excess of over 45,000 hours of mandatory assignments. 21,000 hours were during the summer peak leave season, in addition to their normal work assignments. What that means is we have firefighters and paramedics that come to work every day. They work their normal shift assignments and then are held over for additional hours, sometimes 12, sometimes 16 hours. Others are called back on their days off. So that's what that means. As a result, what I saw last year was burnout, fatigue, and mental and physical challenges as a result of these holdovers. I am grateful to County Executive Angela Alsobrooks and to the County Council for approving the allotment of 150 firefighters and paramedics that we will begin to hire within the next few weeks. This is the first time Prince George's County Fire and EMS Department has been approved to hire this many firefighters, and that speaks volumes. These new firefighters will assist us with getting our staffing numbers back up to where they need to be so that our first responders in this area can spend time with their families and have the proper time off in between shifts. This staffing plan will allow the Fire and EMS Department to reallocate our resources to deliver services more efficiently to the entire county. I'm going to stop right there real quick and let Chief McClellan come up and talk a little bit about the operations and what this plan means. He'll focus mostly on Bowie, but I also want him to give an overview of the entire plan so that everyone has a deep understanding. And then I'll take more questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for your time this evening. So the operational components for this is obviously there were 4 stations affected, and we took some measures to put in place to make sure that adequate service is provided on a daily basis. I can assure you every day we monitor resources and we move them around. As earlier mentioned, you see units from other places. We do that on a regular basis. We move units around today just to make sure that we have adequate coverage, and we do that in a timely fashion. So a couple of the units we put in service, we put 2 peak units in service. These are 2 additional units. One is a paramedic ambulance, which provides an EMT and a paramedic. And we also put a basic ambulance in service with 2 EMTs. For Bowie, we enhanced the service by providing a paramedic engine at the old Station 819. The paramedic engine provides 2 paramedics on a fire engine, and that allows us to provide that critical ALS care to the residents of Bowie in a timely fashion. As mentioned, within a couple hours of paramedic engine 819 going in service on Sunday, it was dispatched as the first arriving EMS providers on a critically injured person. That critical service was provided in a timely fashion because of that enhancement in service. So this service is here, it's enhancing, it allows the citizens of Bowie to be provided the service they deserve. So not only does it able to provide that enhancement when ALS care is needed, it also allows that unit to return because it has 2 paramedics. If one is used, we can return that fire truck to service to run calls. So that paramedic engine will be there. We're monitoring that. What do we do every day? So every day, I mentioned, I have 2 of my duty chiefs here on the side. They monitor the system every day. We have a program software telling us where our call volume is, where our demand is, where our units are. We move those units around every single day to make sure that we have adequate coverage. So an example question would be, why is an ambulance from the National Harbor? So the peak units are actually using the number for the National Harbor. We no longer have a unit there. We just use that designation. We actually use the companies in Ox and Hill to staff the National Harbor during special events. So it actually will be that designated number. But we do move units every single day to meet those gaps in service demand, and we make sure we do that in a timely fashion. That's with fire trucks and EMS units. And when that call volume increases, as you mentioned, you see that large call volume. There's days where we run over 600 calls a day. That's a lot. Our call demand is growing. And when we need to, we'll put additional units, which you hear the term surge, we'll put additional units in service to ensure that we're providing adequate coverage. The majority of our calls are EMS, but we monitor our system every single day to make sure that resources are in place for everyone in Prince George's County, including Bowie. We monitor it, we make those adjustments, and we ensure that that gets done every day.
Thank you very much.
As Chief McCullough mentioned, when we designed this plan, we looked at the Bowie area specifically, and that's, again, why we enhanced Station 819 with the paramedic ambulance. We also talked to our volunteer contingent, and we looked at their staffing component. We looked at how many volunteers they have on the list, and we do understand that Bowie does struggle. We had some transparent conversations with this council, with the volunteer chief that was present, and he's very accurate. They are 10% of the time they're in service, and we're working with them to get those numbers back up where they need to be, and we're going to demand that they work together to do that. So that's important for us as well. So we do understand that. And so again, as Chief McCullough said, we understand the concerns in Bowie. Our job is to ensure service delivery for the entire county, and that's what we're doing every single day. The staffing of your existing other stations was not moved because we understand the components in Bowie, and we understand the time frame to get back and forth between calls, and that's why that, again, was not an option for us. This was the only option that worked. So I'll take any questions that you have, and again, address anything that they have as well.
Okay. At this time, council, any questions?
I do have one if folks can hear me.
Go right ahead, council member.
Thank you, Chief. I really appreciate your time being here tonight. I understand that ultimately the biggest thing driving this is we got 253 vacancies. We've seen challenges hiring firefighters, police, nurses, EMS, 911 dispatchers, I mean, across the board. What can we be doing at the local level to help with the talent pipeline, to help get the word out, to help try and encourage people to get into these fields and to direct people to where the jobs are available?
Absolutely, great question. So our announcement is slated to come out within the next 2 weeks. Again, we would love to be partners with Bowie as it relates to recruitment and retention, using some of your social media platforms. Obviously, our high school programs, we're working with our college with some other things that we're excited about. But we would actually just love to partner with you guys with putting the message out. If you know someone, again, this is a rewarding career. I still say Prince George's County is one of the best departments in the world. So we would love to partner with you to get our recruitment and retention information out there so that we can get 150 people hired this year. That's our goal.
We've had success over the years with our Explorer program for police at Bowie High School. And so if you have with your high school program, that's definitely something that I would love to see us help out with.
Absolutely. So we currently have a high school fire cadet program that we're active with. It's probably going on its 10th year. We've hired about 60 cadets from that program. So we would actually love to talk to you about the Explorers program. And I think we have Chief White here if he wants to talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that we have on the volunteer side. Don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of do. We talk a little bit about what we got going on with our cadets.
Good evening, everybody. I'll raise it up a little bit there. So a couple of things the chief was talking about. We're just looking at some opportunities to bring our cadets that we have, not only at the two schools that the cadets are currently at, but anyone who's interested in volunteering. I was a cadet back in the early 90s, and the effects of the cadet program for me led me into wanting to do this, full time. So I know that it's definitely an advantage for us to have these type of programs out here to support our younger folks as they come in, the Explorer program and also in the cadet program. Those differences are in age because our Explorer program would get our younger folks in middle school and into the high school. So when they come into high school, they're ready to look out for that cadet program because there is an opportunity going in. Also, there's some other programs out there that always are there for incentivizing our volunteers, some tax incentives for those members who want to join. There's some state incentives of I think it's $7,500 right now in our state taxes as a deductible. And there's some other benefits that go with the position, and that's in all of our stations. So it depends on where people want to join. We obviously want our residents here in Bowie to join Bowie, which Bowie's very good for that. I was a member of Bowie, living in the Bowie, not necessarily in the Bowie proper, as Dale mentioned, but in the Bowie area. And I know that a lot of the members that are members at the Bowie Volunteer Fire Department are members from the actual city of Bowie. So that's what we want to see. We want to see people from the community representing the community and giving back. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Council Member Wolfie, please go right ahead. Mayor Pro
Thank you.
Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for being with us here this evening. This is certainly an issue of great concern to our citizens here. I know I've had a number of people who've raised concerns. I want to follow up a little bit on some of the things you mentioned. You indicated that you have permission to hire 155. Is that above and beyond your currently allocated number, or is that to get to your current number?
So it's 150. I'm
Okay.
sorry if
No, that's all right.
So it's
I probably
150.
misheard.
No problem, no problem. So it's 150. And again, that's not 150 above our allocated strength. It's about 80 above our allocated strength. So they added those onto our complement that's already there. So 150 is just to meet our attrition numbers as well as giving us a little bit over what we need to get to 1,124. That's the number that we need.
And where are you presently?
We have 1,010 on board with our current recruit class.
Okay. So this is, as obviously been mentioned, this is a big issue for us as
It is.
well in recruiting. And we'll be delighted if you have any ideas, any way we can participate and help with recruiting. We'd love to be a part of that because it's important to our community as well. Service levels standards for the current I should say the past configuration. I believe we were hitting all standards, correct?
Are you talking about NFPA standards or our county performance standards?
County performance
So
standards.
the performance standards, it depends on the call, but we have a goal. Again, so sometimes our dispatch times could be a little longer depending upon our turnout time or where our employees are responding from. But our goal is to get to a call within 8 minutes. That's our goal. And that's what we're looking for with this allocation plan.
And so you think the allocation is actually going to improve the call response time as opposed?
Actually, no, that's not why. So when we looked at our staffing reallocation plan, our goal was to only remove career personnel from stations where we can meet that response times. And we realized there's going to be some challenging areas. Prince George's County has an urban and a rural area. So sometimes our response times in the urban area is different from a rural area. But when we look at our performance time for our engines responding, our ambulance responders, we have a goal, performance goal. So we look at the other responding agencies or stations that are surrounding them, and we judge that based on that data and of course, our performance times. And that's 8 minutes.
All right. So what we're saying is we're the haves and there have-nots elsewhere, and you've taken from the haves to help the have-nots. So all the while, we're expecting to maintain our current standards, which of course is...
It's a challenge, yeah.
Yes. So with this pipeline of 150 that you have, what is the timeline on a recruit through the pipeline?
It'll take approximately a year. So our announcement will come out in the next 2 weeks. They'll go through a candidate physical agility test. It's our normal application process. The background process can be anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. And then we'll start our recruit schools, and we'll break them up into a couple different schools. We can't do 150 at one time, obviously. This is the largest amount of people we've had to hire ever actually, in the history of Prince George's County Fire Department. So a year is our time frame to get them, in recruit school and out the door. Recruit school can be anywhere from 6 months. This depends on the time frame. If they're already experienced, they can come out a little sooner. So there are a lot of variables. But that's why, again, the staffing plan was necessary. Because although we have a remedy now, it's going to take a year before we see that into fruition.
Is the time frame the same for a volunteer as it is for a professional?
No. Our career recruit school is longer. There's more classes there. With our volunteers, sometimes they come already pre-trained, so we're able to get them through sooner. The background process is the same for career or volunteer, meaning that they have to go through some checks and balances with our investigation team. So that is the same. But the onboarding for a volunteer is different than a career firefighter, and it's shorter.
So acquisition of existing trained officers is more beneficial than
Yes.
Than others. So with that in mind, is your recruiting plan include, for lack of a better word,
Experience?
Poaching?
Yes.
From
Believe it or not, we talk about that all the time in the COG. That's like I said, this is a nationwide problem and it's a regional problem. And we're all hiring at the same time. If you just look on your social media feeds right now, DC Fire Department hired 120 firefighters last year. And they're hiring again. Anne Arundel has a class just started of 77. They have an announcement out already in June. We're all in the same boat, all pulling. So again, that's one of the challenges there is getting qualified people here to Prince George's County and competing with the neighboring jurisdictions. But to better answer your question, we do have an experience announcement that we've tried before, where we're basically looking for firefighters from other jurisdictions that really want to work here. They've already been through a career recruit school. We take them, again, we get them through recruit school, but they come out in 4 weeks as opposed to 6 months.
Okay. So with that in mind, we sell Bowie when we sell our police department, and it's a wonderful environment for people to work in. When someone comes to your department, can they be predestined for a certain geographic region?
No. We don't sell it that way. We sell it as one department, one mission. The entire department is great.
Well, I don't doubt that it's great, but it's really great.
As I'm in Bowie.
I don't doubt that it's great everywhere, but it's greatest where I am.
Hey, I
But
do
anyway.
agree. Bowie's a great place to work, though.
Well,
And there are some ways. Once they come through recruit school and they've done a couple things through probationary period, they have the ability to bid into a station where they want to work. That's something that's very popular. That's something that we've been doing for a while. And we ensure equity that way. So equal opportunity, people can bid where they want to work. And it's based on seniority and a few other things. And people work where they want to work here.
Yeah. And I was actually going to a more serious opportunity, which would have been if you are able to commit to people being recruited, we might have been engaged to help recruit them and incentivize them, but I can't afford to incentivize the county's police department while I might be able to incentivize somebody for my local needs. So that unfortunately would not have worked out. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. I am a little concerned given the nature of the timelines that you're speaking of, because what you had mentioned earlier was that this is temporary. And temporary to me means if you can sign a lease and it's still in place, it's probably not temporary. So what is the, and I guess I've heard from you where we are on the recruiting pipeline, but I would just advocate on our behalf to say we really would appreciate the expediency that you can apply here, because telling my constituents that I got a year before it's going to get any better, it's a long time coming.
Understood. I understand.
Thank you.
Agree.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Councilmember Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for being here again this evening. So can you talk a little bit about how your strategy to remain engaged with communities like Bowie to ensure that our needs are met? We all have received either phone calls or text messages or email about the concerns, primarily around EMS, although there can always be a fire. But can you talk about your engagement to ensure that we stay engaged?
And thank you for having us. I hope seeing us today is our commitment to you, and you understand how seriously we take this. Being able to come to Bowie twice within 4 days is the commitment level that we have here, and this is what we're committing to, not only just Bowie, but our other municipalities. What we're proposing to our municipalities is monthly updates, not only face-to-face if needed, if you want us to come here and present the data, the calls that have happened in your particular area, any challenges that we've had, success stories as Chief McClellan, especially during the process of the summer allocation plan. And then what we're proposing, as again that dies down and hopefully we're able to get right back where we need to be in our stations, having quarterly meetings with our municipalities to talk about some of our staffing challenges. Because what I am impressing upon our municipalities is this is a constant struggle. We have people that retire in 20 years. So one of the challenges is I'm constantly fighting attrition. I lose 40 to 50 firefighters in a year. One year I saw 60 firefighters. That's 60 people walking out the door when I'm only hiring 40. It's a constant struggle, and we're constantly juggling with our council and making sure that there's funding there. So being able to educate our council members, being able to educate our municipalities on where your community is with your staffing, I think it's important, and we would love to be a part of that.
Great, thank you. One of the questions, best practices. I'm really big on benchmarking and best practices. Are you aware of best practices around either the DMV area or even across the country that provides incentives for volunteer firefighters? Those things that work well in some communities maybe can be adapted here in Bowie as far as getting our volunteer roles up to where they need to be. And I understand getting them early and getting them into, programs while they're in middle school and high school. But also, we have to provide some level of incentive as well.
Absolutely. So there were some state programs this year that I participated in, some work groups that actually looked at volunteer incentives. We looked at college reimbursement. We looked at stipends. We looked at SAFER grants. We prepared a paper that we presented to the governor. It hasn't come out yet. I'm looking forward to it coming out very shortly. But there are some programs. Do we need more work? Absolutely. Because what I've seen, at least in the last 4 years that I've been chief, is a drastic decline in our volunteer participation. Some of it can be attributed to COVID. Quite honestly, I think that has a lot to do with what kicked it off. But I also think that our volunteers are changing. Why people volunteer now in their community is also changing. The age of our volunteers are changing, and the things that motivate our volunteers. And we have to change in how we incentivize them. We have a younger generation, and we need to attract younger people into our volunteer organization, so our incentives have to change. So a lot of people are, I think, concerned about low SAP and those type of things on retirement, and what I've seen as a chief is that our younger generation is not concerned about retirement. So we have to change our mindset. So I would love to sit down and talk to you about that and share that document. Hopefully I could share it in the next few weeks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other Councilman Truesdale?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Green, and your fine staff. Like you shared, this is probably in 4 days, 2 times us meeting, and thank you for your engagement. And we experienced earlier this year, you guys' collaboratory effort in terms of we had 14 condominiums that was right behind City Hall. And you guys did a tremendous job. There were no casualties. I wish Chief Howard was here as well, so to commend him. Just a quick question in terms of how has the temporary staffing, summer staffing, impact impact the workload and even, the morale of your team in this short time? And not only in 39, but,
So we've been in place about 2 days.
Okay.
So I only got about 2 days of data for you, but we have been talking to our firefighters. So I'll tell you a couple of things. So it's 55 vacancies. So it's 55 people we're able to put in vacancies. So that's 55 people that we don't have to call back. However, when we looked at our numbers, there were some other things that we did. Obviously, we put some peak units in service. We added another firefighter at Station 819 to increase that staffing there. So although it was 55 on the books, it was probably closer to like 42 because we enhanced some places where we wanted to make sure our EMS coverage remained the same. We have some firefighters, again, that are upset. They're displaced from stations that they call home. Yeah. So we understand that. With any plan that we come in place, there's kind of pros and cons with that, and we're working through that, hoping that they understand that the greater good is that they get to go home to their families, and this is temporary. While I honor and respect their commitment to their community, I have to ensure coverage for the entire county. So that's tough to deliver sometimes to our firefighters, so some of them feel that way. There are others that are grateful because they realize that we're taking the sacrifice to be able to ensure that they go home, and that I have fully rested firefighters, and they're mentally stable, and they're delivering that service. On the volunteer side, I have some challenges there. We have some volunteers who feel that they're being put on the line to have to deliver the service. They feel like they're unable to do that, and we want to work with them. Bowie specifically, we understand where Bowie is. I'm grateful to say Bowie's actually in service tonight. I checked before I came here. It's great. It's a testament to the chief. He's actually there himself, as he said he would be. He's a phenomenal chief, and he leads very strongly. But we realize that they're in service less than 10%. So we understand that, and that's why the other fire stations are still there. So we understand those challenges there. So I think it's mixed.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes over the next few days. What I will say is that we've seen a reduction in mandatory callbacks and holdovers. Obviously, we've released people back, so they're able to fill those vacancies. So that's the relief for me, is that I have less people that I'm forcing to hold over.
Great. And I know change is, sometimes change can be change, right? But for the greater good, we very optimistic on that. Just a little bit, if you can speak just about the paramedic engine, because that is something that you guys replaced, right? Not replaced, but you kind of installed, right? And that's a unique thing.
Mm-hmm. So the paramedic engine, well, I guess I should let you speak on this. It's your thing. I keep taking all the like, you got deputies here? Come on. He's a great deputy. I want to give him the opportunity.
So paramedic engine, so we have quite a few paramedic engines out there, and what a paramedic engine is so the paramedic engine at 819 has 4 firefighters on the unit, but out of the 4, 2 of them are paramedics. So what it allows us to do is critically provide where we need ALS care in a timely fashion, because most of the time there are times where the fire truck arrives before the transport unit. So that allows that intervention to happen quickly. And our pre-hospital care has dramatically changed. It's almost to the point where our paramedics are doctors. They're doing a lot of stuff there. And even an example for cardiac arrest, we're doing almost everything there before we're transporting to the hospital. And we're doing a lot of things where in the past, we rushed to the hospital to make sure doctors can do. Now paramedics are doing that. Now with the 2 paramedics on there, it allows that medic, if we need to transport 1 paramedic, they can get on that transport unit, provide that ALS service and care, and go to the hospital. And then that suppression piece can actually go back in service and run other calls, and it still has a paramedic on it. You may not have the equipment because the equipment may have gone, but you still have a paramedic that can intervene and do things.
I would think that would save time too, once getting to the hospital, dropping patients off, because you're spending time, adequate time in the hospital. Is like.
So that's a great point you bring up. So, for us, and my 2 duty chiefs are here, I have 4 of them every night. They do an exceptional job of managing the service every single day and making sure those gaps are covered. And that's a challenge because some of our hospital wait times are very extended. Some of the worst times are here in Prince George's County. We have units sitting at hospitals for over an hour, close to 2 hours waiting for beds. So we have to manage that and making sure we have that service. So yes, that's where those paramedics come in, where we have a transport unit tied up, where it was an ALS service, like a paramedic ambulance or a medic unit. We actually have a paramedic engine that can upgrade a basic ambulance with 2 EMTs and provide that ALS care. I can tell you by looking at the data, I look at numbers, they look at numbers every day. Do you know where we need the majority of our ALS care? Here in Bowie.
Yeah.
So that's why the paramedic is here, engine's here.
Well, just the last question. I know we had talked about attracting, but what plans or efforts are made to maintain some of the, the services and the staff that we have in terms of incentives or anything?
So retention for our career and for our volunteers. So that's a very good question. So a lot of our retention issues, so if I be 100% honest, what we've done in the past is a 20-year career in the fire service has been our greatest seller, right? We've been able to just literally say, hey, come to be in the fire service, and people came in droves. I would have 2,000, 3,000 applicants. It's a little different now, so I have to retain a little different. So as we look at our union contract, as we look at our merits and our COLAs, sometimes that's attractive for the new applicants, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's exactly what you said, Councilmember, where I'm working and who I'm working with. And those are some of the challenges that we have in the fire service. And the other piece on our volunteer side is getting volunteers who actually live in this community that want to be a part of this community is a challenge for us in Prince George's County. So retaining them and keeping them here, making sure there's incentives there. As we change our department structure, years ago we were a department that was dependent upon our volunteers. It was, it was volunteer centered and our career supplemented. It's now flipped. It is now career driven, and our volunteers support our career firefighters. And sometimes that's a difficult mindset and concept for volunteers to accept. So sometimes it's just about coming to the middle ground of partnership there and getting them to understand the mission. So it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
There you go. Well, thank you again, Chief. That's all I have. I know.
Thank you.
My colleagues.
Any other questions? Councilman Brady?
Last but not least. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Green and staff. Appreciate you coming out Friday and meeting with us, and kind of a repeat performance tonight. And a lot of it has been repeat information, but you've clarified some information. Appreciate that. And I hope through my questions I don't repeat some of what my colleagues have asked about, even tangentially. But a couple of things I want to ask. You said, I think in your letter, that you have 251 open billets. That's
Yes,
how far
250.
down you are.
Yes, sir.
But you have authorization to hire 150.
Yes.
And the net you expect to see is 80 out of that, because
we look at our anticipated attrition. And that's the factor that generally most people don't know about. We average what our attrition is. We use our retirement numbers, people who are coming up on their 20 years.
Right.
We have the DROP program as well, which is a program, it's a 3-year program. People can retire pretty much 3 years before, so we anticipate that as well. So we're anticipating our attrition numbers to continue to rise.
Right. And you can't declare an emergency and say people can't retire. So that's
Absolutely not.
I understand
well,
that.
Can I? No. I want them to stay.
That would
Thank you
just be a
for
temporary
clarifying
fix. But no, I think, and I think you also said that if the 251 were filled, you would not have this problem. We would not be having
That is
this
absolutely
discussion.
correct.
What about the 80 that you anticipate? Will that ease it?
Yes.
Will it eliminate it?
It won't eliminate it, but it will definitely ease it. Again, we were holding over people in excess of 40,000 hours over their normal. So will ease that, and it will fill some of the existing vacancies. And our growth as a county, so we're not slated to go into any new fire stations as far as building any new stations in the near future. We are literally just trying to fill what we have. One of the other things I shared, we have 45 fire stations. We have the most fire stations in the region. If you look at some of our neighboring partners, they have 31, 39. We have 45. That's a lot of fire stations to fill and to staff. And with each volunteer corporations, each asking us for 24-hour staffing, we're again trying to address that. And that's really what our goal is.
And tell me, are the problems with hiring people, did you see a dip with COVID? And are we seeing any increase or a better environment, if you will, for the hiring prospects, or is it still pretty bleak?
It's I don't want to use the word bleak, but it's not as good as it used to be. Again, I use the example. I've been doing HR in the process for a long time. We would see 3,000 applicants at a time, people beating down the doors to come here. And other places as well, we're not seeing that. I think a lot of it is for our public safety personnel. They were on the front lines during COVID. They held the line for 2 years. They saw a lot of things, and it just changed the nature of how we operate. A lot of our firefighters, what they said to me is, again, we sign up to go into burning buildings and to risk our lives, but I didn't sign up to take it home to my family. Right. So a lot of our department is legacy, it's grandfathers and their grandsons, and a lot of that's not happening. I'm not seeing a lot of that anymore, which we've always seen. And I think a lot of that's attributed to what they saw. And no longer wanting to do this particular profession. So we really have to just work through that. I think, again, this is a great place to work. I'm sure we're going to get our 150. We're going to have to recruit a little bit different, and we're up to that challenge.
You, in your comments, you stated that you have a goal or target of an 8-minute response time.
I didn't hear what you said, sir. A goal of?
An 8-minute response
Yes, sir.
time. I think there's a standard out there, and I don't know if anybody meets it according to what
So no one in this region meets the NFPA standards. That's something that we've gone round and round with. We brought in an outside company to do a strategic plan for our department. Then they looked at performance times, but not just of Prince George's County, also Montgomery County and in District of Columbia, Anne Arundel. And just because of the way our departments are situated with urban and rural areas, it's very difficult to meet that NFPA standard, which we used to have as a performance measure that we didn't meet 80% of the time.
Right.
So what we wanted to do is present our community with a realistic standard based on turnout times of a department being ready to go, in jumping out the door, getting to the scene safely. This is the performance time that meets our topography.
Right. But in the meeting Friday, you were talking about a dynamic allocation of resources.
Yes.
To adapt your staffing to respond to problems where you see things creeping up where the response times are too slow.
Absolutely. So I got an expert here too. We could talk about AVL. I know he's dying to talk, but I don't know how much time the mayor has. But if you want me to talk a little about our deployment strategy and how we move resources, we can.
To the extent that, do you evaluate daily? Do you look at weekly assessments and make adjustments? And well, go ahead and
We'll talk a little bit.
give
I don't think you need your laptop.
synopsis of it.
Don't bring up the data.
You came prepared.
Just quickly talk a little bit about how we look at our deployment strategy and the software that we use so we can kind of explain.
Yeah. So my name's Assistant Chief BJ Harris. I'm one of the 4 duty chiefs. I cover a 24-hour shift. So my area of responsibility is all operations within that 24-hour period, 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. the next day. And I think a lot of what I've heard, and maybe some of your understanding, is it's kind of on a linear based, where in the best case scenario, right, everybody is sitting in the station and we're getting one call at a time. We are a very busy department. We are over 500 calls a day. Just today, I mean, you had hours, we're running 30 plus calls, 30 plus 911 calls coming into the system every hour. So to answer directly your question, we are forced to look at it in real time on a daily basis.
With the intent of trying to.
Well, yeah, so right, when we were running 100,000 fewer calls, we could just, hey, a station, 8-minute circle,
Right.
go through there. On a day where a community might be affected by a weather event or just regular socioeconomic demands, that area is demanding more service, more unit responses, we need to adapt and adjust for that, and we do.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll kind of wrap it up for Chief. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to you and the entire fire department, for all your service and what you do. Let's be very candid. The men and women who support our fire department put their lives on the line every day. And I don't want you to think in any way, shape, or form that any of us don't appreciate that and understand how important that is. I've been extremely fortunate, Chief, to be able to work with you over several issues over some time. And I appreciate your creativity and your ability to sit and talk and be very transparent with us and talk about those things that we can do to better serve our community. One of the things that we know is that the citizens of Bowie need to come forward and make sure we talk to our young people and those who can function in that capacity within to volunteer for the fire department. We need to make sure that we make our young people understand and know what a true profession it is and what an honorable profession it is to be one of our first responders. I know a lot of people have been challenged by what happened during the pandemic, but we also know that we're coming from there, but we've learned a lot. We've lost a lot, but we've learned a lot. Again, I want to thank you. I know we're not ready to share some of those things, but you have some extremely creative ways of bringing in new firefighters, but also to specifically help the Bowie Volunteer Fire Department. And those things will be coming out soon. We'll be talking about those. So I do appreciate all the time and effort, the hours you took with us on Friday to go through this painstakingly, every detail. I'd like to thank our emergency management guy, Lee Cromwell, for being able to give us some insight as well. Lee, we appreciate that. But also to just say to everyone, you know, for those who were really, nobody wants to see any firefighters removed from our community. No, we don't. But we also understand that there is a reality that we have to face as well. But I think one of the key issues that people were very, very alarmed about, I think you've tried to touch on that, and I will touch again on it one more time, that we will have an additional opportunity, an additional asset to help with any emergency response in the Bowie area. For one more time so that everybody can hear that, because I think people were imagining that, particularly that EMS, that medical service was going away. Instead of that, you're actually adding one to the Bowie area.
Yeah.
Could you one more time just hit that home?
Absolutely.
I think everybody needs to understand that.
So we looked at our plan, again, we looked at our area and our data, and again, as Chief McClellan talked about, ALS coverage in this area is what's needed the most. So we were able to add, we'll change an engine at Station 819 to a paramedic engine, which will allow you to have 2 paramedics, that's 2 additional paramedics in your area that you did not have before, that will be available to respond to calls. Previously, we only covered your station between 7 to 3. But adding this resource is a 24-hour resource. So that's the other benefit. And it's within that time frame of 8 minutes to respond to that area. So we added a paramedic engine, which gives you 2 additional paramedics in your area.
Okay. Chief, and to all of you, I'd just like to say thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. I acknowledge that we've taken a lot of your time, but it's so important for our community to understand and know that.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, one more time, please, everyone understand how important it is for people to volunteer. We talk about our volunteer fire department. Bowie, we need you to come out and volunteer and support us. And we need to make sure that we continue to push and have people understand, for example, with our fire department, what an honorable and noble profession it is. And it's something that every one of us depend upon. And we should be making sure that we tell everyone we can and always advise them to talk to you, to look at that as an option. And again, thank you for being here and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
At this time, I would like to move to any council announcements at this time. Council members? Well, I will just make one quick one. I'll do it again later. Please, as the 4th of July approaches, please, everyone, please be safe. Remember that fireworks are not allowed overall. And so please, be safe and take your time and enjoy the day on July the 4th. And again, happy Independence Day to us as a nation. Moving from there, we will now go on to the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I have no report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, city manager. We will now go to the consent agenda, and I'm open to a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. We will now move on to the old business, the request for Maryland Women's Business Center Retail Business Incubator Program funding. I know Councilman Truesdale had originally been looking at that, so I will turn it over to you for the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last month, we had a chance to share some thoughts with the Maryland Women Business Center, and they did a presentation. And since then, myself, a few colleagues went to Rockville to visit the incubator that they have, and was very impressed. Wanted to get a blueprint, get a idea of what it looks like. And we had a chance to meet with their mayor as well, Mayor Ashton, and kind of get some answers and questions from her in terms of how it helps their economic foot traffic and some of the successes that they've had in a short time. And so, Mr. Mayor, as I did last month, I would like to make a move that the city provide $140,000 in grant funding to the Maryland Women Business Center for the fiscal year 2025 to set up and operate their retail business incubator program in the city of Bowie.
I'd like to second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. I will now entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, one point I'd like to make. It will require a budget amendment to carry this out, and that's a supermajority, just for the record.
Understood.
Right.
All right. Motion to adjourn? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and properly second. Again, happy 4th of July to everyone. And again, our condolences to Councilmember Roxy Endabamadu and the loss in her family. It's been moved, properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, to everyone out who've listened to us and supported us, have a good evening. And council is all in favor, respond with an aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, meeting is adjourned. Talk about a lack of fanfare, huh?